Welcome to our next session on Interview with an English Teacher. If you don't know me, my name is Alex. I'm the founder and developer of ESL With Purpose and the fun English game Phrase It, which helps you practice phrasal verbs in contexts and in different ways for your classroom and for your teaching. Today we have Steve, who is the founder, is that correct, Steve, of Teachwise?
Yeah, the founder of Teachwise, yeah.
Cool. And so Teachwise is the app that they use for teachers. And we're going to get into that today. But before that, I just want to ask you, Steve, what's your why for teaching English? Why did you get involved in English? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I actually have a whole lesson on that when we do third conditionals with my students. Because I started out in the hospitality industry and tourism, and I was in a seasonal industry. And every winter we kind of had a few months off. And for a couple of winters, I studied French. Yeah, I'm Canadian, so that's a natural thing for us to do. And then in the winter of 1990, we were shutting down our hotel, or a resort hotel, and we were having a party for the staff. And I was speaking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, I'd really like to travel this year, but I don't really have a lot of money, and I can't really go far for very long. And she said, she pulled out a newspaper out of her handbag and said, "Have you seen this? They're looking for native English speakers to go and teach in Czechoslovakia." And I said, well, that would be interesting. So the next day I was on the phone and I called the number, and here I am.
Wow. Yeah. So how many years now then have you been in the Czech Republic teaching English?
Well, in the beginning, it was sort of off and on. I came seasonally. So I came for the first time in January 1991. I stayed for one semester, and then I decided I wanted to get into teaching professionally because my background had been in management and hospitality management, that sort of thing. So I went back and I studied for a couple of years in Canada to get my credentials kind of, in place. And then I came back and I went back and forth a couple of years, summers in Canada and school years over here in the Czech Republic. In the meantime, I met my future wife, so then we moved to Canada for 3 years, and then in 1980 or 1999, I guess we had to make a decision where we were going to settle. So we decided to come back to the Czech Republic.
Yeah, and there's maybe like family there too. That
her family, yes, of course, yeah. So we came back to her hometown. Yeah.
Oh, great, awesome. Yeah. So as far as who you teach in that community in the Czech Republic, are they Czech citizens mostly, or do you work with a lot of immigrants from other countries in Europe that you teach as well?
No, the vast majority are professionals, like people who work in businesses around here in the Czech Republic. I teach a few students who need some extra tutoring and that sort of thing. Most of my lessons are one-to-one. I teach a few small groups in local firms. I have taught, Japanese students because there's a Japanese company here and the managers wanted some English lessons and that sort of thing, but mostly are Czech people.
Oh, nice. So then as far as, you said you spoke French, and then do you speak Czech as well? Did you have to learn that?
Yeah, I spoke French a long time ago, but I've been here for so long. There's so much interference with the Czech that I would be lucky if I got myself through a conversation. But yeah, I mean, my Czech is, I wouldn't say it's very polished, but I can certainly get around in a restaurant.
Nice. Well, how would you say like just a basic hello or how are you in Czech?
Well, if you're speaking informally, actually they use the word ahoy. So ahoy is hello and goodbye. It's like ciao in Italian.
Okay.
Dobrý den is good day. Nashledanou is goodbye. Yeah, and jak se máte? How are you?
Awesome. Jak se máte? Okay, cool. So I just learned the Czech word.
Although how are you is kind of difficult, is not a very good question to ask a Czech person, because in English we use the word how are you, or the phrase how are you, as a greeting. Czech people sometimes think about it much too seriously.
It's like, hey, how are you actually doing?
Yeah, they expect to give a real serious answer to that. One time I had a student break down in tears when I asked her, how are you? And she started thinking about her life.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of internationals that English is not their first language, or that depending on their cultural background, when they come to the United States or even Canada, so usually it's US people that say, how are you? And we're just like, I'm good, I'm fine, bye. And we really,
Yeah.
it's just like a greeting. And it's like, no, I really want to know, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, whenever I teach my students, I love to know, yeah, really, how are you? Like in an ESL classroom setting, I love to know what's going on in my students' lives so I can help them better, you know?
That's right. And you have to, you have to teach them there's a difference between hi, how are you, and how are you? There's different questions.
Yeah, I like my dad, when he calls me on the phone, if I have like a conversation with my dad, he's like, hey, Al, that's his nickname for me. He'll be like, how are you really doing? He'll add that adverb, really. He'll say, how are you really doing? And so if an American asks you that in English and they say, how are you really doing? They really want to know. They want to go deeper. So that's, I agree. But that's so cool to hear about, you know, your teaching experience, Steve, and what you've done. As far as like teaching English, you know, what has been your biggest like joy, and maybe some of your biggest challenges too that you've experienced while teaching?
Well, you know, I think, I mean, I'm quite a sociable person naturally. I always have been. So I really enjoy meeting people. And because of the fact, you know, that I teach professionals, I mostly teach adults. My background's in adult education. I really enjoy meeting some of the people around the community and that sort of thing. So I guess it's been good that way. I've been here for so long that almost everybody knows me. So that's kind of a interesting thing. And I've got a lot of good friends here, you know. I guess the other thing that I love about teaching is the creative side of it. I'm not a person who likes to spend, you know, a lot of time, you know, teaching from a textbook. I like to make up different learning activities and, you know, adapt them and that sort of thing. So that's one of the things that I enjoy about it. I guess the downfalls, you know, it's connected with this learning activities thing, is and with having so many students, it's a challenge to remember what I've done with whom and when I did it, and where I put that activity that I was used a couple years ago, and I just vaguely remember where it is, but I can't remember where I stashed it and that sort of thing. So sometimes it's difficult to you know, manage keeping things together when you're teaching. I also find it challenging because I teach more than a healthy number of hours every week, and at the end of the week, well, this is Friday. By Friday afternoon, I'm usually pretty much exhausted.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, are you taking on students now as well? Or are you kind of full and booked with your student load at this point?
Well, of course, because of the COVID situation, and it was pretty bad over here for a while, I lost probably about 30% of my students because not everybody wants to have lessons online.
Yeah.
But during the summer, like this is my sort of last day of full-time teaching before September right now. So during the summer, I try to cut it back to 2 days a week. So, but in the autumn, I expect I'll have a full slate again. So
Nice.
I hope it gets back to normal.
Right. And there in the Czech Republic, for like English or where you grew up, maybe in Canada, you use the term autumn just now. And is that very common that people say, oh, in the autumn, I will do X, Y, Z?
I don't know. I don't know. Well, actually, the Canadian dialect, I get a lot of questions about this because, you know, the Canadian accent is similar to an American accent, at least from the northern states, and we get a lot of American media, of course. So we're constantly watching American television, American films, and that sort of thing. So I think that we use a lot of American English, but teaching in Europe for the past 20, 30 years, I've been using exclusively British textbooks.
Yeah.
So now I probably say autumn automatically.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, we would say sometimes autumn, sometimes fall.
Yep.
But because I'm always teaching under these textbooks, I'm probably have a tendency to go for the British expression because everybody learns British English over here.
Yeah. And regionally where I grew up in Wyoming, and then I live in Colorado now, in the United States, we say fall. Hey, in the fall I will, or it's fall. I mean, we'll say, ooh, look at the autumn colors. Like if we're talking about something beautiful or pretty, or like we'll kind of throw in the word autumn because it just sounds fancier English. So if it sounds nicer English, Americans will try to sound better than they really are sometimes. And so usually it's fall though, like, oh, this fall calendar school year or blah blah blah. But anyway, that's a fun lesson. If you're watching this and you just learned the difference between autumn and fall, and who you're talking to in what country, that might help you. But yeah, as far as then teaching, like you mentioned, you had a full load, so that's kind of a problem, having a full load of students and just having to manage all of that. I wonder, do you use like a CRM or what's called a customer relationship management tool?
Well, actually, now you're starting to touch on what we've been developing, which is the Teachwise. Yeah. So that's actually the reason that we got into this and it started a long time ago, because I was just accumulating so many resources, books and online resources, and my hard drive, I had a file folder there full of different activities and that sort of thing, and I was having a hard time managing them. So we decided to create a system where we can, it's basically, the heart of it is a lesson planner. And so it's a lesson planning application that is connected to resource libraries, and you can have personal or public resource. So you can store your own resources on your own personal, in your own personal cloud-based library. And you can also share resources publicly. So there's a public library so people can find learning activities and easily locate them and bring them back and so on. And also, a community so that we can share with other teachers and ask questions and that sort of thing as well. So it's kind of like a peer-to-peer networking application with resource libraries, and that's all connected into a lesson planner. So I can import things directly into the lesson plan. And of course, what that does is it gives me a constant record of past lessons with specific groups, so that I can see exactly what I covered last lesson and what I didn't manage last lesson. And then I can just, with a couple of clicks, just click in the activities that I didn't manage with the group and add something else to it. I can see who's there. I can remember what homework I've assigned to different groups and that sort of thing. So that's the way we're trying to manage this right now, is with this Teachwise app system, where it's basically a resource management connected directly to a lesson planner. And of course, there's also a timetable, which you can also connect it to your Google timetables or Apple timetable or whatever other scheduler you're using, to keep continuity in the course and to keep yourself, on track.
Yeah. That's really cool. I think, looking at the Teachwise app, online here, I think it has a lot of tools and features here we could use. I'm gonna maybe go ahead and share my screen if I can and show people what that looks like, so they can see what this Teachwise app looks like. So this is what it looks like. This is what Steve was mentioning, everyone. Their Teachwise app. They have a cool video here too that you can watch. Yeah, I like that sentence you guys use. The only app for language teachers that cuts prep time by 70%. That's really neat.
Yeah. We know that the average teacher spends more than 7 hours a week in prep. And I can prepare a lesson because I know where everything is. It takes me just a couple of minutes to
Really?
import the activities and to, because half the time that you spend in prep is looking back to figure out what you've done last time, where you have to go this time, what your, objectives are, and where to find the activities.
Okay. And so this is like the calendar, like a snapshot of the calendar
That's a
here?
snapshot of the calendar, yeah, and it's color coded. So the green are lessons that have been taught and reported. The blue or the purple are lessons that have been planned, but are in the future, or have
Yeah.
been planned but not reported yet.
Nice. So I know you kind of mentioned you designed this for like one-on-one, teachers who do like one-on-one tutoring in like a calendar.
No. I said that I do mostly one-on-one, but
Oh, okay.
it's not designed for teachers doing one-on-one tutoring. It's designed for, well, right now the version that we have right now is basically for individual teachers. So in other words, freelance teachers or teachers who are working, at a school and they just want something for themselves. And it doesn't matter how large the group is. It doesn't matter if you're teaching online or in person. This is kind of the backbone of your organization as a teacher. Soon we're going to have a school version, which will mean that language schools can use it, and they can connect their teachers, so they'll have different schedule views, teacher views, overall views, rooms, whatever.
Oh, I can see like directors of ESL schools or directors of even some K-12 institutions or other, educational groups that they could manage. Yeah, that sounds like a really good way to manage like all their teachers and like who's teaching what level of class when, could really I can see how that would break down easily.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah. So as far as like, why you did this, it sounds like it's just to eliminate that 7 hours plus of painful extra planning, and you're like, where did I put this, and what am I doing next, and kind of eliminates that, it sounds like, or at least helps get you a little more clear on what you're doing.
That's the idea.
And then if I want to sign up, I just click get started and then just fill this out.
And there are free features and premium features. So the free features are the community, and also the resource center.
Okay.
And the paid is from $4.99 per month, and that includes the lesson planner and the scheduling and all of the tools that you need to keep on.
You can add vocabulary with the
you can add vocabulary, and you can track vocabulary, and underneath the groups or the students file, it keeps a running list of vocabulary so that you know what you've done. In the future, we're going to add a student application so that the students can have their own dictionaries, so that teachers can add vocabulary directly into the students' dictionary, and then the students can also add their own vocabulary in there.
Right. So like if I wanted to teach a thing on my phrasal verbs to like one student, and I wanted to say, okay, what did I teach that student last week? We taught 10 phrasal verbs. This week, we're going to do 10 more. It kind of helps me track that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing tool. I think, excuse me, I'm coughing. I'm allergies this season for me. It's June in the US, and May and June allergies where I live are just, the pollens are crazy here. So if I cough a little, sorry about that.
I get it in August. When it's your fingers deep. Yeah.
Nice. But like as far as like teaching, then I mean, this is like the price of a cup of coffee. I mean, this is really affordable for teachers to be able to get on this plan each month and just have something. And I think this works especially if you're teaching, every week you've got a student, or even if you take a break and you come back, let's say you take a 2-week break, you still have this application you can jump right back into, it looks like.
Well, yeah. And, I figure like it saves me more than 20 hours per month. And for me, $4.99 is worth it.
Yeah, 49 for 20 hours back in your life. That is
Yeah.
a really good deal.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. Well, I'm going to have to sign up for this. I think I'm going to go ahead and get a free trial just to test it out myself. But if
Yeah.
you're watching this and you want to try out Steve's app, just go to this website here where it says teachwiseapp.com, or not .com, sorry, teachwise.app. You can go there. And it's funny, students I've taught in English, they'll say, oh, I have an APP. I'm like, what? I've had students that I've taught here in the US that are, coming from other countries, and they're like, yeah, my APP. I'm like, is that a degree title? What are you talking about? and they're actually meaning, no, this. And I'm like, oh, you mean app? Because native English speakers in the US, we're saying app all the time. And we don't actually ever say APP. We just say app. So
well, I teach with some Czech, I work with some Czech developers, and I've been here for a long time, and so I'm kind of old school, and I was saying application all the time.
Oh yeah.
And they keep correcting me, saying, no, don't say application. That's so old fashioned. You say app. Everybody says app these days.
Yeah, but it's an application. But yeah. If you're a teacher watching this and you're just like, I want more time back in my life to be able to plan and remember what I did before and what I'm going to do next, I really highly recommend checking out this Teachwise app that you can use for your students. So yeah, thanks for sharing this, Steve. I think it's going to help a lot of instructors. So yeah, I'll have a link too in the description here on this video so you can actually access this, but you could just type it in your own browser for that. So
perfect.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for talking with me. It was really nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. Thanks for joining us, Steve. We'll see you all on the next interview with a teacher lesson.